All right, welcome back to the Amato Report. We have a really remarkable personal self story to tell with our next guest here. He is a trusted advisor with something called the No More 9 to 5 Club. It's a club which helps people become independently self-employed. And that's not the topic of our discussion today. It's our discussion with our next guest, Ryan Price, is what he has gone through in his life. As a child, his stepfather was deployed overseas and got captured by terrorists shortly after 9/11, and it had a major impact on his life as you can only imagine. Let me welcome to the show Ryan Price. Ryan, good to see you.
Yeah, good, absolutely good to be here.
And we look forward in future interviews to talk about the No More 9 to 5 Club. But I want to hear about this story that you went through as a child with your stepfather being captured by terrorists.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So my stepdad, I think he got back from Japan in the 90s, and he got deployed like 3 or 4 different times with the Marines. So he said, you know what? He had he married my mom, and he was my stepdad at this point. And he said, I'm gonna do something that I never thought I would do. And what's that? He said, well, I'm gonna go into the National Guard. I'm gonna transfer, so I don't ever have to worry about getting deployed.
Hmm.
Well, and 9/11 happened, and shortly after, he had my mom call me and said, Randy wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. He said, well, I got bad news, but I'm not going to tell you over the phone. And he said, I'm getting deployed. I'm going to Germany. And I said, what? I was devastated, but,
Sure.
um, and he made me record the radio station on a cassette tape for him, a bunch of them. That way, when he was on the plane, it would be like he was listening to the radio.
Ah, okay.
And we got him all prepared, and then he shipped off. And my mom went and visited him in Germany like a year later. He sent a bunch of stuff home for Christmas. And then one day I went to my mom. We didn't hear from him, didn't, nothing for a while. And I remember we had the old caller ID that was on the regular hands-free phone, whatever, cordless phone they called them right back then. And it had some weird number on it. It didn't have like a regular one in front of it. It was like a different country, and it kept scrolling the numbers. And I was like, I showed my mom, and I was like, "Oh, it's a bill collector. Don't answer it." Something in my gut just told me to answer it. So I answered it, and it was in German, but it was like the recording thing or whatever. And then I heard, "Ryan, it's Randy. Accept the call." And it took me a few tries when he called back to press the right button. And then he said, "Put your mom on the phone." I hand my phone to my mom, and she says, yeah, started tearing up. I said, okay. Hang up the phone. She says, Randy's locked up in Germany. We have to get him back. Yeah, but at that time, Germany, they didn't want to talk to women at all. Whoever the terrorist was, yes, wouldn't talk to women at all. It
Okay.
didn't matter if you were, what age you were. They wanted to talk to the man of the house or a man, and I was the man of the house to them in their eyes.
And you're at age 10 at this time.
I was 10 years old, yes.
All right. So the terrorists call back. They won't talk to your mom because she's a woman. Put the man on and the 10-year-old stepson. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they would tell me that he's not coming back. You're the man of the house, and I would cry and
Hmm.
don't you cry, don't you do it. They couldn't speak very good English, you know. And then they put somebody else that was in charge higher up, and he was really nasty, but he spoke better, and he would put people on the phone. I mean, I don't know how many phone calls I've gotten on the weekends because I would all go to my mom's on the weekends to visit, and it was every weekend I would get a phone call. They would call. I would wait for it. Just knew it was going to happen. And they would put people on there, tell me to get a hold of their significant other, their kids, to tell them they're never going to be out of here. I'm never going to make it. And, then I heard people screaming in the background. I mean, bullets, you know what I mean? Like bad stuff was happening to these people. And, I mean, my mom, I used to cry about it and talk to my mom about it. And she used to tell me that we can't say anything to anybody, because and really thinking about it today, who would we have told? I mean, I think I did try to talk to the police, and they said there's nothing they can do because it's in another country. You know, um, and I know the military they don't negotiate with terrorists whatsoever. You get captured, and it's time for us to leave. Bye.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did your mother or yourself go to the federal government?
Yeah. So we tried to get a hold of his. I talked to a few people that he was in the army with, and they assured me that that he was coming home. Don't have to worry about it. But that wasn't true. Not
Yeah.
them. I think they just wanted to comfort us. I
So
think they thought he was already gone.
so you're going through trauma. Your mother's going through trauma,
Yeah.
and then something happens that leads to the release of your father by these terrorists. Tell us
Yeah.
what
So
happens.
like 3, 4 years maybe went by, and I
Wow.
got fed up with it. I was like 15, 16 years old, and I hadn't heard from him for a while, kind of forgot about it in a sort of sense. I mean, it was always been in the back of my mind, but at
Yeah.
this point, I have my friends coming over there, and my mom let us drink some wine coolers here and there, stuff like that. And I don't know, I don't know what got into me, but he called and you know
He
started.
he being a terrorist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one that spoke English, the redder, because I told him, I said, I'm done talking. I can't understand you. I need somebody I could talk to. I'm sorry. And they called, but I talked to the one. He was some kind of high ranking something. I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's kind of like military stuff, I guess, but like a sergeant. Um, um, I said, you listen here. I said, the day I turn 18 is the day I go to your country. He said, what are you gonna do? Kidding me? And I said, no. I said, I'll kill your whole effing family and leave you to suffer through it. And I said, don't think that I'm playing. And there was a pause there. And then he kind of started respecting me a little bit better.
Hmm. And then what happened next?
Um, he started talking to me and at first he was like, yeah, you ain't gonna do that or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I had my heart dead set. That's what I was going to do. But
Right.
anyways, we ended up I wasn't there. Somehow my mom had contact with my stepdad and they said they were going to let him go. We had to send some money for a plane ticket, things like that. He had to go to different countries. And when he
But
came
but
back to this, yep,
but the point is, after you made that comment, he was freed.
yes, yes,
So continue.
yes. And
Brian,
otherwise, I probably would have never seen him again. I don't
amazing.
think. Um, which is, yes, I know it's thinking about it to our world, it's like, oh my God, but that's how their culture, I guess, is as far as I'm understanding. But yeah, so he had to come back to the States and he couldn't just be released. He had to what they call decompress,
Hmm.
where it's kind of like a rehab for people that's on drugs, but this is from being in active war or whatever and coming back into society. Yeah.
Ryan, it's an amazing story, and I wanted you to share that with our audience because it's such a unique story,
Yeah.
and I've never heard this story told ever by the mainstream media. Let me just say, there's a lot of trauma, emotional trauma involved for someone at any age, but being a child.
Yeah.
Has that affected you to this day?
Yeah. So I don't know. I took a security job a few years back and I learned all I could about security, and I started buying. I have spy equipment that I just randomly buy, and I'm never going to use it, but like I'm always like prepared for
Something.
something. Yeah, I don't know how to explain. I have security cameras, like I said, everywhere. I got trail cams, a big spotlight, stadium lights everywhere for if somebody comes in my yard. I mean, you know, I I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, it's all I lived it, so it's like kind of like all I know. But I notice certain things that I do that nobody else seems to understand or get, and this is why 100%.
Did it result in PTSD for you later in life?
I believe so because I mean I have nightmares. My girlfriends don't understand. I'm like, you don't understand what I'm talking about. You'd have no idea. You live in this. They live in what I like fantasy land. I call it, and like Andrew Tate would call it the Matrix. But I live in the real world and what's going on right now around me, my surroundings, and I'm very aware of what's going on elsewhere. You know.
Ryan, it's a it's very touching deep story, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with our audience. We're going to have you on, as you know, many times to talk about the 9 to 5 Club, which you're an advisor
Absolutely.
at. In less than a minute or two, I want our viewers to also hear about the 9 to 5 Club, and excuse me, the No More 9 to 5 Club, and
Yeah.
what it is, because it's quite I'm impressed by this club you're a part of. Take a moment and just, in a nutshell, explain what it is.
Yeah. Well, basically, we're all we build a community, a network of people, and with legitimate good businesses, everybody has a good heart, and we're everybody's experiencing. Yes, there isn't very many jobs, and if you do have a job, you have to work two or three of them just to try to make ends meet, and it's getting harder and harder and harder. So, our team has tried to, well, we haven't tried to, we have found ways that we can make money legitimately without having to sacrifice going and working for somebody else, stuff that you can do at your house and spend time with your family during your work or automated, all kinds of stuff. And then we've even brought it up to where once you are making money, or maybe you have money, you just like to expand what you're already doing, we have those capabilities also, whatever the case may be. And these people that are in the group or in a club or on a network are like, the top line of, I mean, most of them are ex-military, you know, um, business owners. I mean, all, high-ranking people in society.
Is it fair to say that what it is, it's a network which helps provide the infrastructure for people's businesses should they need one, should they
Absolutely.
have a certain need, I mean.
Absolutely. And then there's other stuff that we share along the way, just information and
Yeah.
I mean just generally like that we have the not Mind Trainer Pro, which I mean you can listen to the audio and it can kind of manipulate your brain, I guess, in a better way to, all kinds of different stuff. I mean, we really push on that because it does help. Me personally, I like the natural supplements that help my brain. But we don't promote any of that stuff in the club because it's not really proven or tested. But personally, that's my go-to. Um, Now, originally, when me and Jason got together, he's the CEO. I had my invention with a patent, and I felt like I got scammed by a company. And I was telling him about it. He's like, "Yeah, don't pay that. It's like $20,000 all said and done." And they get 10% of my royalty rights, and he's like, dude, he's trying to explain to me, you could do it all yourself. And I said, well, I keep getting scams online. And he said, yeah, I've been exposing them. He said, but I've been thinking lately, maybe we can educate these people so they don't have to, they ain't out there scamming everybody and they could do something legitimate with us because it takes a certain type of mindset to be able to even run that type of scam. And if they could run that scam, if they put that to good use, in a legitimate way, my God, they'd be geniuses, with marketing or,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then we all come together and formed it. Like it seemed like overnight, but it's been 2, 3 years now, I think,
Interesting.
you know.
Well, I just wanted you to touch upon it, and because this is going to be a topic that we're going to go into deeper with many more interviews with you on this No More 9 to 5 Club, because I think our viewers will many of them will get a big benefit out of the No More 9 to 5 Club.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Ryan Price, thanks for
Yep.
joining us.
Yep. Thanks.
Back with more after this.